You're back with the Powerful Communication podcast from Comteria. This is Colin Kelly. My goodness, there's lots to learn from the Celtic AGM earlier today. There's video clips flying around of the Chairman Peter Lawwell appealing to the shareholders, who are also fans, to behave and stop their protest and let Dermot Desmond's son, speak and read his pre-prepared statement. And then indeed closing the meeting as well, because they didn't heed his warnings and they didn't behave. The protest and disruption continued, and the AGM came to a close, and they weren't able to ask questions in the open format. Lots to learn from this. Now, I'm not going to comment on the behaviour of the supporters, who are also shareholders and had every right to be there. I think it's worth saying as well that the disruption, as far as I saw, was shouting and booing and showing red cards. I don't think there was much more than that going on. And that kind of behaviour is not solely happening within the realms of football clubs. It's unusual that we see it at an AGM, but it is not unheard of. There have been protests at other AGMs throughout business, throughout PLCs. I'm thinking particularly during the 2008 banking crisis and everything that came after that. What I thought was really interesting and that everybody can learn from is, number one, Celtic PLC should have anticipated this. We know what's been happening over the last few months. There's been various protests, there's been statements from fans groups, there's been protests at games. So they must have anticipated what would happen at this AGM, knowing full well that many of the people who have been protesting at games and via the media and on podcasts and so on, these same people also happen to be shareholders. So if you've got a constituent group of unhappy shareholders, it is pretty safe to assume that they will turn up and make their feelings known at your AGM. So number one is it should have been anticipated. Since it should have been anticipated, you should never have your chairman in the position where he is trying to ask supporters or shareholders to behave themselves or to restore order. The chairman shouldn't be doing that. That makes him look weak. It puts him in the spotlight. It means we see a video clip. And I have to say, in my view, he's not a particularly good communicator. I don't like the way he comes across, and I'm clearly not alone in that. So why would you have him in that position where he's telling supporters, shareholders, investors how to behave? That's outrageous that you would put him in that position. What you want to be doing instead is have somebody that they don't know, someone independent, who's a good communicator, whose job it is. Obviously, the person I'm talking about can't chair the AGM, but they can and should host the proceedings. Someone representing the venue. Now, okay, the venue is Celtic Football Club, but someone representing the venue rather than the PLC whose meeting it is. This is how we expect you to behave in our venue all the time, regardless of the AGM, which we happen to be hosting right here and right now. These are the rules if you're going to be in this venue for anything. And if you don't comply with the rules, then the venue will ask you to leave or will make you leave. And that then means that the sting comes right out of it. And the people who are the target for the ire of the fans, they don't appeal directly to the fans and tell them to behave and all that stuff. That puts your chairman in a really weak position. It should be the venue team that handle that level of behaviour. And the precedent for that would be something like WWE Wrestling. If they are holding an event and there's fans misbehaving in the arena, or as regularly happens, fans filming it on their mobile phones, maybe trying to stream it, clearly the WWE have a duty to protect the broadcast rights, so they don't want fans banging it all over social media, but they never speak directly to the fans. Never. So what they do is they see who's doing it, they point it out to the stewards, and the venue stewards approach the fan and either tell them to behave or tell them to leave. But you'll never see a WWE official speaking directly to a fan, because it's a bad look for their business and it leaves them open to God knows what. So they just don't do it. They use the venue security instead. And that's what you should be doing at AGMs. You should have a host, and then as long as it's the chair that runs the AGM bit of the meeting, the venue host can handle everything else. The second thing that I have to call them out on is you've got a majority shareholder sending his son to read a pre-prepared statement on his behalf. Now, that kind of thing might go on in the City of London, at other PLCs, other large organisations and other AGMs. It's not really what we would want to see when it's a football club. And they must have known that. The fans, shareholders, thought that AGM was going to be their opportunity to put questions and to hear directly from these key individuals. And to send someone else in your place, reading a statement, and there was some quite tough language in that statement, talking about bullies, talking about behaviour, talking about disruption. I'm not sure that the AGM is the correct place to put that, because in effect what he's doing when he does that is he is referencing directly a group of people who are in that room that he's not prepared to face in person. So I don't think that language should have been used in the AGM. If he wants to send someone else in his place, I don't think it's the way to go. I think it's asking for bother. But don't refer directly to the behaviour of a group of people who are probably there, probably in that room, if you can't face them yourself and say it directly. And really, there's no need to say that in an AGM. So I've got to say, if somebody was to ask me based on that, what's going to happen at Celtic, I will be very surprised if Peter Lawwell remains in post.